have said. We've got it. Yep, no problem. So we're now being recorded. So that was just the warm-up bit. Is about turning towards our current situation with compassion and kindness. So almost everyone that I work with so far has had some degree of very understandable fear and resistance. And mindfulness helps them to turn towards the health condition with compassion so that they can be kinder to themselves. So, you know, Vicky talked about Parkinson's Care and Support UK being about quality of life, happiness and care. So with mindfulness, it starts with self-care, turning towards ourselves with kindness and facing our fears. So although a lot of people think that mindfulness is all about focusing on the positives, part of it is definitely that, but that's to build our resilience so that then we're more able to turn towards the things that we feel difficult. And really what we're developing in the actual meditation practice is skills to use in everyday life. So a lady told me a story last week of how she'd been at a big station in London and she'd mistimed her medication and she suddenly found that she couldn't walk and really crowded. And she initially had this big wave of panic, but she said, oh, it was just brilliant. She said, I was able to recognize that I was starting to panic, come back to my breath in my body, release the tension in my body, feel the feet on my feet on the floor so that I wasn't feeling rushed. And then from that place of feeling much calmer, was able to ask my body to move and it began to move again. And she said that is just revolutionary for her because it's not just about managing her Parkinson's symptoms in that moment, but it's also therefore reducing her fear of being out and about, because some of the fear for her was of what happens if I'm out and that happens, what will work for me. So the fact that mindfulness was able to give her a very practical way of dealing with a potentially very difficult situation is something that I found very moving. So that's just a couple of examples for you of how mindfulness can be of very practical use as well. And in the Breathworks Mindfulness for Health course, we also do a lot of work with pacing. So we start with self-compassion, but then we use pacing, which if you come to it with an attitude of this is about limiting my life, it's very difficult to engage, whereas we don't introduce that to week 4 and the previous weeks are learning to turn towards ourselves with greater kindness. So by the time we come to the pacing, we can see that if we accept our limitations and work within them, then we can start to actually achieve more, mainly because we've taken out the stress and the fight and the struggle with there. So it's very much about kindness, but much, much more than actual meditation. And I'm really glad, Vicky, that you used, and the example of this is all about complementary therapies. And I'm just so delighted to be alongside yoga and singing. And mindfulness doesn't work just by itself. Mindfulness helps us to calm ourselves, to stop running through life, to feel safer and more secure, so that then we can see more clearly what's really going on for us. And therefore we can start to transform our difficult emotions so that we can engage more positively and more deeply with life. And so for a lot of people, that is about including singing, because that's another great thing within mindfulness is about changing. If our mind gets hooked onto worries, we would use singing, for example, to move on to a more positive neural pathway. And of course, with yoga as well, there's a whole part within the Mindfulness for Health course where we look at mindful movement. So again, it's not about the result of how far can I move, it's about the awareness within the movement and learning to live with our body with kindness so that we can free up our movements and become more confident. So it's, supports yoga as well. So it's a real pleasure to be alongside everyone here tonight, and I look forward to taking questions later.
Katie, just a quick one on the 8-week course.
Yeah.
People can presumably find out some more information on the Parkinson's Care and Support website.
Yes. So there's a whole page on it there, and thank you for reminding me. So Parkinson's Care and Support UK are very generously supporting your places on the course if you'd like to join me. So they will subsidise everybody with a £30 subsidy. So that brings the full price for the 8 weeks is £250. It brings it down to £220. And the subsidised places, if you're on any kind of benefit or low income, it's £175. So that brings it down to £145 for a full 8 weeks course. And that's supported by lots of handouts, meditation recordings, all sorts of resources, so that you have a toolkit for life. Yeah,
that sounds amazing, and I'm sure lots of people will have questions about that, because as I said, anxiety I think plays a huge part. But how wonderful, you know, if we do get into a panic situation, of learning a technique to just slow down, control, use our breath, and get over that and get into a better state of mind. Yeah, that's really, really interesting. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, so we are going to move on now. We've got Kobe coming in. There we go. We're going to move on now to Matt. So singing therapy. So Shafak Ali, just before I hand over to you, Matt, I did another brilliant podcast with a woman called Shafak Ali, who's an NHS dentist. And one of the things that I love about her, she's so upbeat and positive. She's got 2 little kids. She's got young onset Parkinson's, and she sings to her patients. I thought it was just brilliant. And they love it. They all come in and go, can we have the singing dentist, please? And she loves it because it helps her with her vocal cords. So I thought that was a fantastic example. So anyway, I will stop speaking and I will unmute Matt, and thank you, Matt.
Oh, thanks, Vicky, and thank you for inviting me tonight. It's really an honour, and it's really lovely to be involved and to let more people know about what we do. So I try and keep it brief. I'm going to go back a little bit to how this all started, because I think it's quite important for an understanding of how we came to be, and that is amazing Professor Grenville Hancox, who was Professor of Music at Canterbury Christchurch University, and almost exactly 20 years ago, in 2001, there was another professor from the Health and Social Care faculty who used to come to sing in one of his choirs, and these would take place in the evening. So there'd be a mixture of students and staff and people from the community who would come and sing traditional repertoire, choral repertoire. And what he noticed was that people arrived after quite a long day, quite tired, but after the singing session, he noticed there was a real change in body language, in people's demeanor, and he thought there's something interesting going on here in terms of, you know, having been through this communal singing experience with each other. And so he teamed up with the professor from the Health and Social Care, and they did a little study to investigate, you know, what was really going on. And from that grew a research centre that was dedicated to investigating the impact of singing on people's health and well-being, specifically looking at conditions such as dementia, COPD, mental health, and Parkinson's. And that research centre was formed in 2004 and is still going today. And out of that grew the charity Canterbury Cantata Trust, which is the parent charity for Sing to Beat Parkinson's. One of Grenville's colleagues at the university developed Parkinson's, and they started a group in Canterbury, which has been our sort of flagship group, if you like. It's the oldest group that we've been involved with. It's just celebrated its 10th year, and that's called Canterbury Skylarks. And that's a singing group for people with Parkinson's that now meets regularly in a grammar school in Canterbury, so that the students from the school can be involved in understanding, and so it's become an intergenerational thing. From that, we decided to formally form Sing to Beat Parkinson's as a project under the charity in 2018, with some very generous funding And basically our organisation is a central resource for people who want to set up groups, and we now have about 45 groups across the UK and in Ireland that run groups for people with Parkinson's. So our main central resource is a training program that we've been running for 5 years, and we've had over 300 practitioners attend those training programs, and we give them the tools to then go out and set up those groups, and they can apply to us for some funding to get it going, and as long as they can, you know, develop a case for being able to sustain that, and that's been a really successful model. We're very well represented in the southeast region and in the east of England region. But our website has a map of all our groups across the country. So I'm very happy for all our details to be given out, and my email address if people want to email me and ask me where a group is near to them. Since we managed actually to move everything online in March 2020 when COVID struck, and that was far more successful than we imagined. Singing over Zoom is very challenging. Because of the time lag, you have to mute people, so effectively everyone's looking at each other, but they're only hearing themselves. The fact that so many people have continued to come back to those groups, I think, is a demonstration of the social support that the groups provide. So the research there's quite extensive research has been done, and the evidence shows that it can improve quality of life for participants. With some evidence, we need more about respiratory control, improved gait, but the social and mental well-being aspects are very well evidenced. So sharing with others, making new friends, removing the stigma of the condition by being able to be in a room with other people with similar challenges, and something that Katie referred to, providing a kind of healthy distraction from the challenges of managing the condition. If next time you find yourself singing in a group, it's very hard to think about anything else when you're singing, because it engages your whole being. So when you're singing, particularly singing words in a group, it's very hard to think about, you know, whether I've remembered to do the shopping or pay the bills or whatever the challenges you might have that day. So from that point of view, it's people tend to leave the groups feeling much better than when they arrived. There's absolutely no requirement for any singing background at all. A lot of people say to us, you know, I was told at school I couldn't sing. You're as welcome as the person who's spent 30 years singing in a choir. So we welcome anybody and everybody. In fact, one of my colleagues set up a choir for people who can't sing in Canterbury, and that's a thriving group. So we're very open, we're very accessible. The charity's strapline is caring through singing. So we look at singing as being a shared activity where we care for each other. It's not, we don't ever call our groups choirs, because it's not about performance. It's about a shared experience. Some groups do like to go out and perform and to show what they've been doing, and that's fine, but we don't see it as a performance activity. So that's kind of, I'm happy to answer questions. We've got
I'm sold.
Yeah,
I was one that was told I can't sing, and I was like, what? I sing beautifully. And I'm like, no, you're rubbish. No, but I mean, it's just so great, isn't it? Because you're right, it makes you happy. And actually, that's so interesting what you say, is when you're concentrating on the words, you're not thinking about anything else other than, so it's a mindful practice in itself.
yeah, and it's definitely an extension of mindfulness.
And I mean, my mother in particular, as her Parkinson's progressed, her speech, you know, I don't mean to sound rude to people, but you can appear as if you're drunk, you know, you've got that slurred speech. So does it improves, you know, using repeatedly your vocal muscles in the right way, it can help your speech?
Yeah, I mean, you might have seen examples of singing takes place in a different part of the brain to speech. So, for example, people who have really bad stammers, I don't know if you remember Gareth Gates, who was, I think, the first winner of Pop Idol or something, whatever it was back then, who had a terrible stammer, but when he sang, he never had an issue. So that shows that you're accessing the words from a different part of the brain. And we have seen some remarkable examples of people, you know, who've struggled with their movement, who've managed to get up and dance. We encourage people to dance in the sessions if they want to, but also people's vocal strength improving. I mean, we can't promise to improve it over the long term because of the nature of the condition, but temporarily it can be very powerful.
And it makes you happy, and that in itself is, you know, is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that we found that people, you know, they look forward to coming to the group, and since coming to singing groups, they've also explored other things that in the kind of creative world that they might enjoy as well. So it tends to be a sort of prelude to a better diet of activities that can just help improve the quality of life. I think that's the main aim.
And also, I think being in a room with other people that understand, you know, what you're going through, so you lose that inhibition, you're not worried, you know, they're going through the same thing as you. So that's really comforting, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we also find that carers and family members quite often come along, and it's really a real boost to them as well, apart from just supporting the group vocally. We don't charge subscriptions generally. It varies from group to group. We sort of rephrase it that people are encouraged to give a voluntary contribution, so that people who can't afford it don't feel that they have to, and then there are those who put in a bit more if they can, so it kind of evens itself out.
No, that's brilliant. So what we'll do, thank you so much, Matt, is anyone that wants to ask questions to Matt, we'll do that at the end. There's lots of information about all the therapies on the Parkinson's Care and Support website, including Matt's. But what I'll do is, after the webinar, I'll send a link to the recording in case you want to watch it again, and I'll list all of Matt's details and contact details, etc. Okay, so thank you. So let's move on then. Charlotte, sorry. I'm jumping ahead. So Charlotte, on the yoga front, I mean, I'm a personal trainer, so I'm on the sort of high impact side, but I also do a lot of yoga because it really helps me with on the mindfulness side. And I know that you offer mindfulness yoga practice through Parkinson's Care and Support UK, and you specialise on the Parkinson's front. So over to you. Tell us all the benefits.
Yeah, so I'm sure most people know yoga, or probably a lot of you have practiced yoga, but it's a type of exercise, not just for your body, but it is wonderful for your body as well, but it's also for your mind and your spirit. So I became a yoga teacher in 2017, and it was around that time that my father was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and I was absolutely amazed when I started working with him. Doing yoga with him, I was absolutely amazed about how the benefits of yoga really helped to alleviate his Parkinson's symptoms. And that kind of brought me to working with Parkinson's Care and Support UK for the last couple of years. So a typical yoga class will involve physical movement, and that physical movement really helps to benefits such as loosening stiff muscles, so maintaining and increasing flexibility and mobility is absolutely wonderful for the postures that we're doing in our class. And then there's some other really great benefits, and one of them I found with my students who have Parkinson's is balance. So we work a lot with balance postures, so strengthening the feet and the ankles, and it can help to build or rebuild confidence by doing the balance postures that we are doing in yoga. Some other things as well on the kind of physical practice is we work a lot with posture. So it really helps things like rounded shoulders. So really improving the posture by strengthening the core muscles as well. But it's not just about the physical practice, even though those have some, really amazing benefits. But we also work a lot with breathing practices. So a lot of the time, breath can get very short and shallow, and it kind of stays up here high in the chest. And what we practice in our yoga class is a more nourishing, deeper breath that takes the breath right down into the belly. And the wonderful thing about our breathing practices is it has these two kind of benefits. One is it gives more energy, and the other one, it helps to improve sleep. So it's really, really wonderful in doing those kind of things as well. And then in my classes, or in a typical yoga class as well, you have a relaxation at the end, and that's a kind of guided visualization, just trying to relax the entire body. And what I found working with students with Parkinson's is they say to me it's during that time where it either alleviates or their tremors just go when they're in that completely relaxed state. And then going back to that kind of last element of the yoga practice, and it's the spirit. And, all of these things just really help to improve well-being and to, just improve a better quality of life. And I find that yoga really helps to lessen things like anxiety and depression and things like that as well. So I'm running a class for Parkinson's Care and Support UK on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. It's a mindfulness class, so it's gentler. We do a bit of physical movement, but the key element, what Katie was talking about as well in this class, it's not about trying to achieve something. And I'd really invite people who haven't tried yoga before to not be scared of it. So I know there's a lot of, I don't know if you're on Instagram, but a lot of people sticking their legs around the head and whatever. It's not about that at all. It's not about trying to make crazy shapes or anything like that. It's all about yoga to make you feel good in your body. So I would invite you to come and join me for that class on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. with Parkinson's Care and Support UK.
Oh, thank you so much, Charlotte. I mean, it is absolutely amazing, isn't it, that it can actually stop the Parkinson's symptoms. You saw that through your father, and it just goes to show the huge benefits when you're in that mindfulness state and you're just focusing on your body or your breath or a specific move.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really, really interesting. I'm sure you're going to have lots and lots of questions at the end. Right, okay, so thank you very much. So lastly, we are going to move, I'm going to mute you, thank you so much. We are going to move on to Laura Smith. So I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but really, really groundbreaking and exciting news is that Parkinson's Care and Support UK have teamed up with the University of Kent and are fundraising to build the first of its kind, a centre for integrated therapies. So there's nowhere else like this in the world. So it's basically sort of, well, in fact, I'm not even going to attempt to describe, because that's what Laura's going to do. So I'm going to stop talking and Laura will tell you all about it.
Oh, thank you, Vicky. Is it okay to show some slides? I will try not to make it a huge lecture for you all. Don't know if oh, thanks, I can see it now. I think it's come up on mine that the host has disabled the screen sharing.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry if it is complicated, because I can always send around the slides after.
Share screen, okay. multiple participants can share simultaneously. Let's see if that helps.
Thank you.
Is that done anything?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
I am technical. Hang on.
And are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So thanks so much for inviting me. I am a research psychologist at the University of Kent. I'm really pleased to be able to talk to you all today. And my background is more in mental health and things like cognition, so memory, concentration, problem solving, those sorts of abilities. And I look at how those abilities might change in different neurological conditions. So that really brought me to focus more on the non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's. So these might be things that we can't easily see from the outside, but which actually can have a really big impact on people's quality of life. So that does encompass mental health, and it does encompass things like cognition, but a whole host of other things as well, like feeling tired or having some pain, a whole host of different things. And for these sort of non-motor symptoms, sometimes more drug-based approaches can struggle to address these symptoms. And this is something that's quite topical at the moment. I'm not sure if any of you caught these bits and pieces in the news last week, but about the need for us to take a bit of a different approach to addressing some of these different symptoms, particularly sort of non-motor symptoms, and that sometimes drug-based approaches aren't as effective, and we need to be putting a bit more resources into some of these more non-pharmacological approaches and making these a bit more accessible rather than relying on prescribing medications. So as Vicky said, we've teamed up with Parkinson's Care and Support UK to be able to bring a centre together in Canterbury to help offer different non-pharmacological therapies all in one place under one roof, and offer these in a joined up manner, so you don't have to go and see one person here and one person there and those people don't speak to each other. The idea is you can access different therapies all in one place, and healthcare providers will be able to communicate with one another and come up with a plan to address your needs. And the needs would kind of try and address the person as a whole and offer some personalised care, so acknowledging that everyone comes with their own different symptoms and circumstances. And this would be sort of research led, so building on the research expertise at the University of Kent that we have, and using evidence-based approaches, and leaning on the expertise of Parkinson's Care and Support UK and the therapies that they already offer, and all the different connections they already have, and also leaning on the expertise of different community organisations like we've heard already today about Sing to Beat. So we'll offer different non-drug-based therapies, and these will tap into lots of different things, so like physiotherapy, psychotherapy, singing, art therapy and so on. But what's a really novel, nice feature about the centre is that it will offer, in addition to that, some non-invasive brain stimulation, and these therapies aren't easily accessible at the moment, so you can't sort of be prescribed it and you can't buy it off the shelf. They need to be sort of administered with research supervision. So the plan is to offer that brain stimulation in addition to the drug-based therapies. And there'll be a research program embedded into the centre. We're really excited about this because we think it would be really cool to explore what the benefits are of administering these different approaches together. So, for example, perhaps some singing with some speech and language therapy, what happens, or perhaps some yoga that works on balance, as well as some brain stimulation that works on balance. How do these different things sort of weigh up, and how might they boost each other? So the research will tap into that, and we'll also generally sort of monitor people's symptoms and characteristics with the aim of learning a bit more about Parkinson's and how we can treat this. And it will be really collaborative, so working with different experts who've already been working a long time with Parkinson's and learning from them, and also embedding the feedback from people with lived experience of Parkinson's and their families as well. I'll just quickly touch upon the brain stimulation a bit more, because I'm not sure how much you will have heard about this. And as I said, this is quite a novel thing for the centre. So the approaches we use target the vestibular system, and this is a small structure in the inner ear about the size of a pea. And this system helps keep you balanced and orientated. So it's a bit like your internal GPS system. And it's a really ancient system. So over time, it's built connections to different parts of the brain. And the parts of the brain it connects to are involved in things like keeping you alert and aware, like helping you regulate your mood, and they help you remember things and navigate. So because it connects to all these different regions, we think it might have some therapeutic potential. So if we stimulate it in some way, it might boost those functions. And these are the ways that we go about stimulating it. So one uses thermal currents, so heating and cooling, and one uses electrical currents. And you can just get a flavour from these pictures that the devices aren't anything kind of scary. So that's why I wanted to show you the slides. But they're very portable and they're very simple to use, which means that people could take these home to stimulate with at home under some supervision. And they're quite inexpensive and safe to use with not many side effects at all. So we've done some studies so far administering this stimulation in Parkinson's, and what's been really interesting and exciting is that the motor symptoms seem to improve, but also the non-motor ones as well, so things like mood and fatigue and cognition and general quality of life. And these benefits have lasted or carried over, so there's been some lasting benefit, which is really exciting. So we're looking forward to do more research on this, but also combining this stimulation with other different types of therapy and seeing what the benefits are. So we've launched the centre and we're hoping to open it next year. We're on the way to fundraising it, and the fundraising, we need that so we can offer these therapies and make the centre accessible. So that's what the funding is for, is to staff the centre and offer these therapies free of charge. So here's a link to our website, and if you want to find out a bit more about the plans for the centre and the kinds of things we'll offer, you can look at that there. And there's also a link where you can sort of register your interest if you want to be kept updated about the plans and when it will be open, or if you want to find out how you can kind of spread the word or tell more people about how they can support us, then that would be great too. And then I just have one other quick thing to mention. So before, when I spoke to some people from Parkinson's Care and Support UK, I got lots of questions about the devices, and it was a bit hard because you can't sort of go and use them just yet. But we do have one research study that's ongoing at the moment at the university where you can access one of these devices. So the study is administering this type of stimulation in Parkinson's and looking at how the brain reacts. So some sensors will be placed on the scalp and just see what's happening in the brain while you're having the stimulation. I won't sort of go on about this too much. It would involve coming to the University of Kent in Canterbury. But if you do want to try out the stimulation or find out more about the study, you can contact this researcher here and they'll provide more information about it. I think that's my speeded tour, and I'm happy to answer questions, obviously, at the end.
Unbelievably so brilliant. I can't tell you, Laura, how exciting that is. Do you know, I was sitting with my dad at the weekend and he was caring for my mum, and she died age 75 of Parkinson's. And he was making the point that, you know, the only thing available for her and them was medication. You know, she would go to the doctor with him, or the neurologist specialist, get the drugs tweaked, you know, every 3-4 months. That was it. There was nothing else available. And how, if there was a centre like this available with the resources you're talking about, not only would it be of help for her, it would be of help for him, and it would also give her the impetus to, keep going. Because me, age 46, hearing things like that, I'm like, brilliant. I'm not gonna, this is gonna help me. I'm not going to decrease in Parkinson's at such a rate as she did with all of this amazing stuff available. And yes, I would like to be put forward for that, please. I'm moving to Kent. No, that's so exciting and so interesting. So before we move on to questions, I just, I'm not preaching here, but this centre is groundbreaking. And if it is a success, which it's going to be, then what's to say more centres can't creep up all around the UK and then around the world. So, for people in Scotland, there could be one up there, or, all around the UK. So it's really exciting and really, really important. So I am going to start fundraising. And Parkinson's Care and Support UK have a host of fundraising initiatives. And if you go onto their website, you'll see them. So I went onto the website. Guess what number 1 is? Skydiving. So guess what? The first fundraising challenge for me, skydiving. Now, I want to raise 10 grand. If I can get 29 people to skydive with me, raising 350 quid each, that's 10 grand. I've already got 20. Who's up? Yes, hands up. Come on. So what I'm going to do, oh, we had a hand. Woo! So what I'm going to do is for all the speakers that have joined us, I will send out an email with all the information we've covered. So if anything's of interest, it will be all there. And but I'm quite serious about the skydiving. Next year, there are centres all around the UK. Let's do it. Take yourselves out of your comfort zone and jump out of an aeroplane with me. You'll be strapped to an instructor. What could possibly go wrong? We'll be fine. Okay, so that's challenge number 1. Challenge number 2, we'll come to that. Now, on to questions, okay? So first things first, mindfulness, which is of huge interest to me. Has anyone got any questions of mindfulness? And you know what I'm like. If you don't ask, I will pick on someone. So who is going to be the first person? Hang on, I'm looking at faces. Oh, Stephen, yay, go for it.
It's all very well in theory, but how do you sort of switch yourself into a mindfulness state? How do you clear your mind?
Oh, well, that is a great question, because the last thing you do is clear your mind. So I'm really glad you asked, because that's it's impossible to clear your mind. So, and that's often where people think that they're failing with mindfulness. So mindfulness is more about where you place your awareness, but mindfulness is always mindfulness of something. So it might be of breathing, but it also might be of washing up, or anything around you. So we look at different anchors, like something you can see or hear or taste or smell or touch or breathing. So yeah, that's a fantastic question. So if anyone's thinking, I can't do mindfulness because I can't clear my mind, that means you're fabulously normal. You can't clear your mind.
Fantastic, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, is there anyone else? Yes, Rose, let's unmute you.
Hi, Rose.
I'm trying to unmute you.
I think Zoom have changed it that we can only unmute to ourselves.
Yeah.
Hi, Katie. Is it helpful to have like a mantra, or when you say, you can, if you concentrate on something, is it helpful to have the same mantra, to get yourself into that state?
Another great question. So using a mantra would be a different form of meditation compared to mindfulness. Mm-hmm. So mindfulness actually wouldn't encourage us to use a mantra, because a mantra can very much become just a thought. It's like something that we just say over and over in our head. Mindfulness is about very much coming back to the body and finding what is actually present for us in that particular moment. So but we might use words, but it would be, say on an in-breath, I use the word in, and on the out-breath, I use the word out, and the words are helping me to focus. But the words would be led by the breathing, so that I would be noticing my in-breath and noticing my out-breath. Yeah. If I get to the point where I'm just saying to myself, in, out, that means that my mindfulness has slipped, and I'm just in my head. So that's one of the real powers of mindfulness, is to help us get out of our thinking and more connected to our body, so that we are it's easier to let go of repetitive thoughts, for example, if we come into a relationship with our body.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I'm just scanning the room. No? Anyone else? Just checking. Andrew, nothing from you on the mindfulness? No?
There was somebody waving there.
Yeah, so sorry. Right. Let's unmute. There, I think you might have to unmute. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Right. Sometimes when if I get a bit anxious, my tremor will start to flare up a bit more. And it's very hard to concentrate on breathing and mindfulness when you've got a tremor, because you end up focusing on the tremor. Is there any advice for that?
Yeah, so in mindfulness, it's about where you place your awareness, and we can alternate between having a focus on something like on the breath, and also something called open monitoring, which is where we would broaden out our awareness to become aware of everything around us. So you're right, with anxiety, actually, it can feel very kind of egotistical, can't it? It's very kind of closed in and focused in on ourself. Our mind gets very caught up in kind of protecting ourselves. And definitely if you've got a tremor, then your mind can focus on that. So in that kind of instance, the mindfulness practice would be to notice that other parts of your body don't have the tremor, so that you show your mind, yeah, the tremor is here, but it's not here, and it's not here, and it's not here. And actually, when you start to tune into your body, most of your body doesn't have the tremor. So it will reduce the anxiety about that. And then you can broaden it out even further to what can I hear? What can I see? Can I feel the air against my skin? You know, notice the nature or wherever you are inside. So you broaden out the awareness, and all of this helps to reduce the fear that is arising in response to the tremor. So it's mindfulness would help us to look more deeply at the kind of emotions that the tremor is triggering, and then about changing the focus as to where we place our attention. So it's very empowering, is mindfulness. People think it's soft and fluffy, and there's lots of science behind it as well. I haven't talked about that tonight, but there's an awful lot of science behind mindfulness now as well. But mindfulness helps us to bring to build a sense of inner strength as well that we can come back to. Like the story that I talked about earlier with the lady who, when she felt her physical symptoms becoming out of control, she was able to sense the rise in anxiety and kind of breathe, come back to the body, let the anxiety drop, and then the movement becomes more manageable.
Almost like realign your focus to something that's part of the body that isn't. So you focus on that and you kind of almost put yourself into that kind of idea.
Absolutely, yeah, because our mind has a natural tendency to focus on the negative. And so if you get a very slight tremor, then your mind will immediately focus right in on that. So to broaden it out to the whole of the body, and also to then tune in. So the more that you practice coming back to the breath, and Charlotte explained that really beautifully before about the mindful breathing and coming to the breathing low in the belly. And the more that we practice that, the more natural it becomes as something that feels safe, like an anchor. So we talk about anchors. But I've also worked with a number of people who coming back to the breath inspires fear and anxiety, maybe people who've got a history of panic attacks. So I'm also trained in trauma sensitive mindfulness. So we help people to find an anchor that feels safe for them. So that might be the fact that you can simply feel the connection between your feet and the floor, or if you're sitting on a chair now, becoming aware of that sensation of physically being supported and held where you are. And that might feel safer to come to initially. And then, you know, the breathing I would hope would feel safer the more that you practice it. But there's no right or wrong with that. And that's something else that I love about mindfulness. You know, this is the real advantage of learning it in a group, you know, on a group course, because what you'll find is that I'll introduce a concept from mindfulness and a practice, and at the end we go, how was it? And somebody will go, oh, that was amazing. And somebody will go, no, it didn't work for me at all. And then there'll be everyone in between, and we'll talk about all the different reactions and responses to it, and none of them is right and none of them is wrong. It's very much about helping you to find your way through the mindfulness practices that work for you. And so that's a really brilliant part of learning in a group, because other people will have different experiences from you, and that might help you to look at things differently as well. So it's very much a group learning environment as well.
I take it's got to be an ongoing learning process for yourself as such.
Sorry.
It's an ongoing learning process with yourself for yourself, if that makes sense.
Yes. So it's led by me, but mindfulness is all about discovering your own truth, if you like, how it is for you. So if we do a meditation and we use an image of something being solid as a mountain, everybody will have a slightly different image in their heads. And for some people, it might be imagining calm water works better than solid mountain, for example. So there's never a right or wrong. And also I'm there to support everybody through that. So if, say, we've got a group of like 8 people or so, the maximum it would ever be would be 11. Then if somebody finds it easy to go to the breath, they can share why it's easy for them, for example, and they can share what's worked for them. So I'll share my experiences and kind of the, if you like, the official teachings. But within that, there's a lot of flexibility. That's what makes it so fascinating to teach. Yeah.
Thank you. Very informative.
Thank you for that question. That was really useful. I think with all of these therapies, like you say, Katie, it's finding what works for you, isn't it?
Definitely.
We're all different. Audrey, over to you. You've got your hand up.
Yeah. Hi there. I just wondered if mindfulness would semi-explain the effects of cold water therapy. It's a kind of forced mindfulness, because you can't think about anything else.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes, it's partly about the focus that you can't think of anything else. And again, like the singing, you know, that's another advantage of it, is that you're very focused on one particular thing and it helps to calm and stabilize. But actually the cold water swimming also stimulates the vagus nerve, as does deep belly breathing. So as you focus on your breathing and bring your awareness to your breathing, the way that I would talk you through it in the very first week is about getting you to just, rather than trying to control your breathing, noticing how your body moves. And we start to sense that our body moves forwards and backwards and side to side, and you can feel a slight flex in your spine. And then you can gradually move that down to awareness of the diaphragm, feeling your belly gently rise and fall. And particularly as you get to that stage of the breathing, it's the movement of the diaphragm stimulates the vagus nerve, which connects back up to our brain. And that stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of the nervous system that calms us. And that's a really fascinating side of mindfulness. So it's a great question as well, because the vagus nerve and the way that we stimulate that through the breathing means that mindfulness isn't about willpower to calm yourself down. We're learning techniques using our body that use our nervous system to affect our mind. And brain scans have shown that within 8 weeks of starting to practice on an 8-week course, a brain scan looks different at the end of the course than it does at the beginning of the course. So your prefrontal cortex becomes stronger, and the inflammation around the hippocampus, which is part of the brain that kicks off and around the amygdala, which kicks off the stress response, starts to reduce. So your brain starts to look different. So over time, you actually genuinely start to perceive the world in a slightly different way. And that sounds like a big claim, but it's exactly the same as if you start to practice yoga. You know, Charlotte was talking about how you would build up the muscles in your feet and ankles, for example, because you've used it. And it's the same with mindfulness. If you think about it as kind of training for the brain, and again, you know, we were talking about the singing, is that's supporting your vocal cords. So if we start to practice meditation and mindfulness, then we start to genuinely perceive the world differently.
Yeah, thank you.
So you're right, there's definitely a connection, and it's the vagus nerve.
Yeah, I mean, I really notice a difference with cold water therapy, really.
Yeah, it's very powerful. So if anybody wants that without having to get into cold water, mindfulness might be a warmer answer. But it's even better if you combine the two. You know, there's one lady that comes to my class who does regularly the cold water swimming, and the combination of the two has been really powerful for her. Yeah.
It is amazing, and amazing that you can actually physically see the changes in the brain. I mean, that's extraordinary.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
So thank you so much for those great questions. Now, just on to the singing. Who sings? Who finds comfort? Oh, Audrey, I knew you. Oh, and Vicky. So Vicky, would you mind telling us about your singing and how it helps you?
Well, I've sung pretty much all my life, but I've even since I was diagnosed with Parkinson's a couple of years ago, I still carry on going to the choirs that I go to, and probably my only problem is trying to keep the music still. But if I sing once I've learned the songs and I don't have to hold the music, it's absolutely brilliant. You think about the singing, you don't think about your Parkinson's.
Yeah, fantastic. So Matt, sorry, I'm muted. Do you find that with people that they come and they're a bit embarrassed if they're holding the music and there's...
Yeah, so we don't tend to use music, actually. We try to do everything. I mean, we tend to sort of, there's a lot of exercises involved. So we do a lot of warm-ups, which are basically fun activities. They've got a lot of humour to them. We rewrite the words of popular tunes or rounds and things like that. So we very much promote a model of not using any music at all, because we just think it's a bit of a distraction, and also people tend to have their heads down and they're concentrating on the score. So if we do need to use words, we tend to put them up on a projector, so that everyone naturally has to look up. So I've been to some groups in America. There's an organization called the Tremble Clefs. I don't know if anyone's come across them, which is an organization of Parkinson's groups in America, and my experience of them was that they were very much glued to their music, and actually the whole kind of camaraderie has changed in the room, because I was there as an observer, and there wasn't as much interaction or movement as there is. So we really try to promote a sort of to learn things by rote, and if necessary to put things on a projector.
That's fantastic. So Vicky, if you are interested in giving that a go, do go onto the website and have a look. I'll be there. Which
part of the country are you?
Milton Keynes.
Oh, okay. We'll have a look at our. There's a map on our website. I'm not sure what there's a group in Birmingham, but that might be a bit far away.
Oh, it's a bit far.
Yeah, but you'll have to look at the map to see what your nearest group is, or email me.
Thank you.
Erica, you'd like to ask. You might need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry I missed half the meeting. I just couldn't link up at all.
Apologies if that was anything.
I was sitting here like... where is it in Birmingham? Because I'm just South Birmingham in Solihull.
I knew you were going to ask me that.
You might have to...
Yeah, I've only got the email address. I don't have the actual address of where it is.
Do you know the name of the person?
If you go onto our website and look at our map, there's a contact name there.
Okay.
Erica, I'll make sure I send the details out. Okay. And then you can have a look.
I absolutely hate singing, but I am actually, my profession is a musician. I was a cellist, but obviously I can't play much anymore now professionally. I just teach. But I love hearing the singing. I love watching all the shows. The standards at school are brilliant, but I can't seem to save my life. I think it's because of my Parkinson's, really. I think my voice has gone quite. I'm so weak to sing. I get out of breath after about 4 notes.
Well, now you can join a group with other like-minded people and not be embarrassed about that.
Exactly. I think there's a lot of people who feel that way and need a bit of encouragement to come. But, you know, our practitioners are very experienced of dealing with people who are, you know, who are lacking in confidence just because of their vocal strength. So, you know, and you can sit it out and make friends if you want to. You know, there's no it's not mandatory.
I love the fact that you incorporate dance as well.
Yeah, people like to get up and dance. It's not something that is formally part of the group, but it's something that just tends to happen. Yeah. I mean, it varies from group to group. It depends on the material, but certainly the groups that we run locally here, they have a couple of numbers that they do at the end where people are encouraged to and like to get up and move around. So that's great.
It'd be quite interesting to look at regionally who are the more dancers and who are the more refined around the UK. Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad there are some singers amongst us. So there you go. I will send you all the information. So if you are interested in doing that, are there any more questions on the singing front? I'm going from screen to screen just to check any more. No, okay. Thank you so much for that, Matt. Okay, so what about the yoga side of things? Is there anyone here that practices yoga or is interested in starting yoga? Yes, Rose, would you like to unmute yourself?
Yeah, no, I do yoga on a weekly basis. I've kind of been doing it for years now. But is there any difference between what you would say Parkinson's specific yoga, or is it just general yoga?
So the one that I'm doing for Parkinson's Care and Support UK at the moment is called Mindfulness Yoga, and it will probably be slightly different. Well, I'm not sure exactly the one you're doing, but so the one that I'm doing here is very gentle, and it kind of mixes a lot of guided meditation, breathing practice, and there's this real emphasis on a lot of the things that Katie was talking about, the kind of more mindfulness elements of it. So it's a very gentle practice. That is just one type, and as you probably know, as someone who practices yoga, there's so many, you know, different types. And, you know, for example, I could run a full mat yoga class for people with Parkinson's, and that would be probably slightly different to the mindfulness yoga class I'm doing. So they're all a little bit different, but you know, yoga just in general, the things that are practiced there are all fantastic for the symptoms of Parkinson's, as I'm sure you're experiencing yourself, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I think I mean, I'm no great shakes at it, but I find that if you find a yoga practitioner that you like, that makes a difference, you know, because you can be doing yoga classes all your life, but if you don't sort of sync with the person,
absolutely,
yeah, it makes such a difference, I think.
Yeah, I'd say that, you know, all yoga teachers are different, so you have to find the one that just connects with you. And there's so many different types of yoga as well, you know, so you've got to find that one that kind of matches with you as well. So absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that's so important when it comes to exercise of any kind, and particularly yoga, is don't be embarrassed if you've never done it before. Just
yeah,
you know, because no one cares. It's only you that's going to have that inhibition, and your yoga instructor is going to help you. And I think the lovely thing about the yoga that Charlotte offers is that it can be done, you know, from home. So you know, if you don't want to be seen, then that's fine. It's going to help Charlotte to see you so she can correct you, but yeah. Okay, so any more questions on the yoga? Maria, any questions on the yoga? Oh, there's a question from Erica. Oh, Maria, you go, Maria. We haven't.
Yes, I'm from Argentina, so
are you in Argentina now or the UK?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
4 hours difference, but I follow you in Instagram, and the proposal is very, very nice, complete, and I can't find the same information here in Argentina. I do yoga twice a week, and it's very interesting what Charlotte is, sorry for my English.
It's very good, Maria. Don't apologize.
Thank you. It's very interesting, the proposal of Charlotte, because it has something about with mindfulness. I'm not used to mindfulness therapies, but perhaps the question was, it would be available in a link in where, how can I be informed about it?
So you can sign up via Parkinson's Care and Support UK website. So hopefully I could maybe paste it in here. Otherwise, we can send it out afterwards. But okay. Yes, you sign up weekly via Parkinson's Care and Support UK website, and then it's just a Zoom link, and then everyone will join from that link every Tuesday at 4 p.m.
Yes, for me it's 12 p.m. and well,
right.
It's okay. Well, thank you for the information.
Yeah, so Maria, don't worry. So I've got everyone's email addresses, so I'll make sure you're emailed that. Okay. So you get that link. On that, are any recorded, Charlotte?
Yes, there are some recorded as well, which is on their YouTube channel. So we'll send that out as well.
Yeah, that's an option, Maria. If the time doesn't match up, then I'll send you the YouTube link, and you can then do some at a time that suits you. But fantastic that we're joined from Argentina, and your English is brilliant.
Yes, when I was, oh, thank you. Yes, when I was diagnosed 8 months ago, well, I started to look information, and first I was very enojada. I don't know how to say it in English. Then I am in the acceptance period and starting to naturalize it. And well, it's a work in progress every day, but feeling better. And I'm 44, and well, paying attention at all the therapies around, you know, just to know which one is much better with me, you know.
Yeah, it's very brave of you to speak. I mean, I think that's the important thing I was looking to do with those, you know, that are diagnosed younger, because it is a shock. So just for you and everyone else, actually. So I've done a series of podcasts and a series of stories, and they're all accessible on the Parkinson's Care and Support website, and I will share the link. But I did these podcasts because I feel it's important for us all to know that there are people out there exactly the same as us, and it's sometimes useful to hear those stories to see how they're coping. So I've done about 7 now. The most recent actually was with the BBC technology correspondent Rory Ketlin-Jones, who is slightly older, but that was really interesting doing him. I've done a couple. One chap called Matt Dimbilo, who's an ex-Paralympian. He has given up medication and copes with the symptoms just through exercise. I'm not suggesting you do that, but it's just interesting hearing how different people cope. Shafak Ali, I've mentioned Rose, her dancing helps her. So just, you know, all sorts of people, different ages, different backgrounds, different places in the world. So they're all available on the Parkinson's Care and Support website, and there are some nice stories there as well. So I'll share the link, and if it helps you, you know, fantastic. Are there any other questions? And Audrey, go for it. Sorry.
I just want to, if you don't mind, just talk about my experience, because I had symptoms since my 40s, but wasn't diagnosed until 2.5 years ago at the age of 59. Now, I knew there was something wrong, and they didn't consider Parkinson's, but I worked with them, you know, in integrative therapies the whole time, and I don't take meds, and that's been quite a long time. And I find it's not that I don't have symptoms, I do, but I've got management techniques in place so that I can use integrative therapy to manage them. And like, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, med-free is good for everybody, but just, you know, to give people maybe hope that that is possible.
Thank you.
I think you're on
mute.
You're on mute, Vicky.
I am. That was silly, wasn't it? Thank you. I think that's really helpful to know that, you know, I think we're all in agreement. We're not dismissing medication here, but if there are other routes and avenues, then that's great. I mean, for me, it's exercise. I mean, I just feel on top of the world once I've exercised, and it helps me enormously. And you know, for other people, it might be dancing, yoga, mindfulness, or a combination of everything. So Audrey, that's really, really inspiring to hear that you're not on medication and you're finding your techniques. Is it a mixture that you're finding of the?
Absolutely, I pick and choose. It's like having a toolbox.
Yeah,
and I will try absolutely anything. I mean, I've got a really open mind, and some things are surprising. I might go and think this is not going to work, and it's actually really useful. And I pick and choose day to day because the symptoms are so variable. I mean, some days I don't feel that there's anything wrong. Other days I can hardly move. So yeah, it's just really interesting. So I'm absolutely delighted about this Kent Centre. I think it's absolutely fabulous.
I mean, it's almost like a sweet shop, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
To go in and access all these integrated therapies and just try and see what works for us.
Absolutely,
yeah. Amazing. Now, I'm not very good. I will try my best at pronouncing your name. Ahlam. I think that's right. Please correct me. You might need to unmute yourself. Sorry. So, see if you can. I'm asking to. There we go.
Thank you so much. You pronounced it really beautifully. Thank you so much. I was going to say, like Audrey, I'm 57 and I got diagnosed 4 years ago. I think I had Parkinson's for a good few years before and didn't take note really. But very much like Audrey, I have not taken medication and I've decided not to ever take medication. And again, I manage my condition really well with my toolbox. I love that expression, Audrey. Thank you for that. Toolbox is fantastic. And I'm open-minded. I try everything. I started recently doing Alexander technique. I'm going to a gong bath in a few weeks' time. I do absolutely everything. I watch my diet. I take really good quality food supplements. I take probiotics for my gut. I do yoga. I walk. If I can get exercise during the day because I'm working late, it gets dark, I jump on my exercise bike in the kitchen. Positive mindset. I think you need your loved ones around you. You need your love cushion, people who love you and support you and give you the affection you need. And you know what? I'm in a really good place and I'm full of hope for the future.
God, that is so, it's given me actually goosebumps. That is so lovely to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think we need to do a podcast. What a lovely, lovely, inspiring and positive mindset you have, and how wonderful to be so open-minded that you're just open to trying anything and everything. And it does give people hope and inspiration.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's really lovely. Any more questions? Oh, Erica. So let's have a couple more questions, and then I think we'll wind up.
It's not a question. It's not a question actually. I just wanted to say that there's so many people here tonight, and these exercise classes that Charlotte, Katie has been involved, the boxing, they're all fantastic. And I thought, what, when I saw all this? And I started last October. My first class was the intense beatbox intense. And I've made every one on a Tuesday morning. And I start work at 1. And try to get back from work for 4 o'clock. And I'll do them all. Sometimes I've done 8, all 8 in a week, 9 or 10. The neurophysio on a Saturday morning is brilliant as well. And it has made a massive difference to my life. And what people we've met, so we've just been sitting here tonight, but you can imagine if there's even 4 or 5 of you and you're chatting and having a bit of a giggle and a laugh, we've exchanged numbers, we're planning to meet up. And I just thought, for the last few years, I don't want to be with people with Parkinson's. I don't want to be one of them. But it's brilliant. We've got a local coffee morning weekly, fortnightly on Thursdays with the Solihull Parkinson's UK. We've got our own Facebook group. We meet up once a month in the pub. We've done 2 now since we've all been back, but it really does help to get involved with other people because you do understand each other.
Absolutely. And Erica, what Erica's referring to is Parkinson's Care and Support UK. They offer a range of free fitness classes, all accessible on the website. So I'll give you a link. So as Erica mentioned, you know, there's beatboxing, there's qigong, which is another fantastic form of exercise and therapy, yoga. So it's all there. So that's really wonderful to hear that.
And that's made a big difference to my physical activity, or everything really. People say, look, you've got Parkinson's, we wouldn't know.
Yeah, that's incredible. Oh.
My eyesight's been affected and I've got blue glasses now, blue lenses to help me read the music. It's quite funny.
Well, we can't have everything, Erica, can we?
No, I know, but everyone is brilliant. So just give it a try, guys, girls. You know, it's good. Be nice to see some more people. I even had a boxing coach to myself once.
Ah, fantastic.
So I said, don't go easy on me. I've got my personal trainer here.
Yeah, bring a smile to your face. Right. Thank you, Erica. Anyone else? Or I'm going to wind up now. No one else. Oh, sorry. Go.
See this centre with it being in the southwest or southeast, sorry. Is that for people in the southeast, or is it going to be a nationwide centre, do you know?
Sorry, Laura.
Sorry, just on mute. Yeah, thank you. That's a really great question. Initially, the centre would be based at the University of Kent, which is in Canterbury. And everyone would probably need to come to the centre at least once for sort of a face-to-face assessment and to find out more about needs. And if you were to use the neurostimulation devices, there would need to be some training that would take place face-to-face. But then there is a possibility that some of the approaches could be sort of a bit of a hybrid model, so then could take a device home and stimulate with that at home after visiting the centre on the first occasion. So we're working on some of those hybrid approaches, and as you heard, Parkinson's Care and Support UK, they already have some remote therapies and remote ways of delivering those. So your care could be overseen remotely as well. But as Vicky said, I guess the focus initially is to make this centre work and find out how we can make that most effective. And then once we have that established, there's no reason why that couldn't act as a blueprint for more centres to be established across the country and make it more nationwide provision.
No, what I'm saying is it just people for the southeast will be able to access it then, or?
No. So anyone could access it, but you would need to come to the centre for at least one assessment in person. But we already have had messages from people who are really interested in travelling a bit further afield to access the centre for one of those initial appointments.
Yeah, I might drop an email then. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I think you're still on mute, Vicky.
She did it again, just talking to myself. So I think, you know, these things have to start somewhere, but fantastic that we can all have access. But guys, again, without preaching, it can only happen if we raise enough money. So if you do want to jump out of a plane with me or have any other ideas for fundraising, please do think about that, because it's an awful lot of money that needs to be raised, but I know it can be done. You know, if I can raise £10,000, what to say you can't? So I think, you know, let's try and make this happen and make a difference, so that, you know, we've lived our lives knowing that we've done something to really improve Parkinson's and hopefully ultimately find a cure. So thank you. Unless anyone has got any other questions, I'd like to thank you all so much for giving up your time this evening and coming. And in particular, thanks to our wonderful speakers. So Katie, thank you so much for your incredibly useful insight into mindfulness, which I'm sure people will have lots of questions and may get in touch with you separately. And as Katie mentioned, she's running that wonderful 8-week course, so I'll send you all details on that. So thank you, Katie. Yay for Katie.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. Thanks for all your questions, everyone.
And to Matt, Sing to the Beat Parkinson's. Matt, really, really inspiring, really interesting, upbeat. I'm going to be there. I will find my centre, and if not, I'll create one. So thank you so much, Matt, for joining us and telling us. And again, I will share the details, and then you can find an area close to you. We have got our yoga. So Charlotte, there she is. Thank you so much, Charlotte.
Thank you, everyone.
And as Charlotte said, you can actually get taught by Charlotte through Parkinson's Care and Support UK. So I would suggest that we all just give it a go, see what it's about, and then take it from there. And Laura, thank you so much, because I'm sure lots of people will have heard about the Integrated Therapy Centre, but not quite sure what it's about. And combining, I think, the neurostimulation with the therapies is a fantastic combination. So I can't wait. And I think we're all going to do our best to make sure that happens. So thank you so much for joining me. I am going to have another webinar coming up at the end of November, all about nutrition. So I hope you'll join me for that, and I'll send out information in due course. Bye. Night.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you very much.